This was inevitable. Isaiah Hartenstein was not going to be on the Oklahoma City Thunder for a long time. When he signed this contract back in the 2024 offseason, it was kind of known when you look at how it was laid out. After his second year, he was more than likely done with the Thunder. All right? There is no way when you look at how the roster is supposed to be built with all the extensions that were going to happen in the future that are finally now happening with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren, along with potentially trying to keep Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, and these core role players on the team, Isaiah Hartenstein is going to have to go because of how much money he simply makes. This was a known fact, and if you haven't realized it yet, you have to realize it by the end of this video. As much as I love Isaiah Hartenstein, as much as he helped out the team win their first title in franchise history, it just he wasn't going to be on the Thunder for a long time. The only way that's possible is if he took a pay cut to make around $10 million a year, and he's not going to go down from making almost $30 million to $10 million a year. There's just no way a guy like him, and this is, when I say a guy like him, I mean someone that just made a massive raise in his ability, has a championship under his belt, potentially another one next season if it all goes well for the Thunder, in the NBA playoffs. Potentially 2 rings. Is he going to take a $20 million pay cut? If you can make $30 million again with a team that wants veteran leadership and some excitement, especially for a rebuilding team, you're going to take that money instead of a $10 million pay cut. That's just how it works. Why would you take, 60% less than what you're making right now? So I'm going to break down in this video why he's leaving, kind of compare it to some similar things that are happening around in the NBA right now, and explain why it is okay for him to leave. Why would it be okay for this to be his last season with the Thunder? Because Sam Presti has thought this out. Before we get into all that, though, quick moment to recognize that we're at 6,224 subscribers on the channel. I want to hit 7K before the start of the season. I know we can hit that number. So if you enjoy the content and you don't want to miss a single minute of the action here at Thunder Digest, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification as well for me. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into talking about today's topic with Isaiah Hartenstein. And look, I've said it every single time. When you look at how the contract is built, Isaiah Hartenstein was not going to be on this team for a long, long time. And I'm not the only one out here covering the Thunder that thinks the same. Fansided has talked about it. Thunder is, Locked on Thunder has talked about it. Thunder on SI. All these places have talked about Isaiah Hartenstein being this 2 to 3 year rental, depending on what the extensions look like. Now that our core trio of guys in Shai, Dub, and Chet have their max extensions, Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be this guy where his team option won't be picked up, and the Thunder will have an extra $30 million in cap space right there to take on this Chet and Dub extension. Mark Nyland over at Thunder's Intentions talked about it as well. Soon after Hartenstein put pen to paper on his 3-year deal with the Thunder, many were under the impression that his tenure would not be fully experienced. As the details show, the first 2 seasons of the contract are fully guaranteed, securing the 27-year-old a minimum of $58.5 million with the agreement. His final year in 2026-2027, however, is a club option, a luxury many initially suspected could be declined if/when Presti and company drop big bucks on their core trio of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and Holmgren. So as you can see right there, this should have been expected. And I'm sorry if you did not expect this to happen. You are living in a fantasy world. If you really thought that the Thunder were going to pay Hartenstein some big bucks to stay on this team and risk losing half the team as well, you don't know this team. You don't. That's just not how it works. That's not how you can't be successful in the NBA like that as well. The Boston Celtics just proved that. They paid all that money and won that championship. But what's happening now? They have to offload a ton of guys. That is why Presti has 3 guys on contract for team options going into the 2026 offseason. All on team options that can free up almost $60 million in cap space for these extensions. He has more guys that he can decline and sign as well with their team options, like Cason Wallace. There are guys like this on the team he can do that with. And I guarantee you, someone like Cason Wallace, we could see a decline and sign for him. We very well could. Okay? It's just, I can't in good faith tell you guys, just seriously here, there's a chance that Isaiah Hartenstein, signs for a cheaper deal, because I don't see that happening. I don't. I think Presti is going to keep Dort over Hartenstein. I just see that as the truth of the matter, that he's going to keep Dort over Hartenstein, as I think Dort is the better player than Isaiah Hartenstein. When you look at what he can bring to the table, I think he is better. I think he's a key member of the Thunder for many, many years. And I don't think he's going to make over $30 million in his career. That's no disrespect to Lu Dort whatsoever. He's my favorite player on the team. I'm just trying to get it out there saying, look, I just think he would be, kept over Isaiah Hartenstein. Going into the article even deeper here now, this offseason, the aforementioned win officially arrived as OKC committed upwards of $822 million in new money to their big three alone. In this modern era of herring tax penalties, cutting down on costs in any way possible is a must, which only makes club options all the more valuable. In turn, these slew of moves seemingly makes iHeart a lame duck center. As things currently stand, the Thunder's projected payroll for 2026-2027 is at $254,784,525, nearly $50 million over the second apron threshold. Hartenstein alone will be fourth largest payday on the team should he stay for his third year of the deal at a worth of $28.5 million. As you can see, there's so much stuff the Thunder have to do to stay under that second apron, even though that second apron isn't really going to affect the team when it comes to draft capital until they negotiate a new CBA. And by then, the new CBA might not affect teams like the Thunder and the second apron if they're going to reward them for drafting well and having to pay their draft picks, as that's what it's kind of sounding like when people are talking about it on podcasts that are also current players like CJ McCollum, even though he set these rules in place. So I don't understand why he's talking about it like he didn't do any harm to it whatsoever. But that's just the fact of the matter. The second apron won't hurt them. They can go into the second apron if they want, but they do have to cut down on some money before they get to that cap. And Isaiah Hartenstein, like Mark Nyland mentioned, is the lame duck right there. There are replacements, and he went on and talked about it even further in his article how there are replacements. He also compared it to the Boston Celtics, which I don't necessarily completely agree with, but I get it at a standpoint. With how the Celtics are currently being ripped apart by the game's harsh tax penalties, Oklahoma City has seemingly been planning ahead to ensure that, even with their summer spending spree, they don't succumb to the same type of fate. A clear example of these steps of preparation is their decision to include a 30-year option in Hartenstein's deal right from the jump. Now the selection of Thomas Sorber in this past June's draft and the re-signing of Brandon Carlson to a second consecutive two-way deal, the writing appears to be already on the wall that 2025-2026 will be the big man's last with the Thunder. And like I said, I don't really like the comparison with, the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder, as I think they are completely different situations going on. Sam Presti has all these picks piled up, whereas the Celtics don't really have any. They just have their own, and they're worried about being a team that's middle of the pack playoffs or even a play-in team, and their draft pick that should have been like 14 through 18 drop all the way down to 30 because of the second apron penalties. The Thunder won't ever have to worry about that because they have not been in the second apron long enough to deal with that level of punishment. They haven't. I also like how they mentioned, I like how he mentioned the addition of Thomas Sorber and Brandon Carlson on the two-way deal. Reminds me, if you guys don't like baseball, don't know it, watch the movie Moneyball. If you guys do know it, it reminds me a little bit of what they did with Moneyball. Replace them through the aggregate. That's what you do. And with Thomas Sorber and Brandon Carlson, you can replace them through the aggregate. Even with Jay Will as well. Aren't necessarily going to replace him with one player, but you could replace him with the production of two players that may even be better. And with his stats, it's not necessarily hard to replace either. 27.9 minutes a game, he averaged 11 points, 10.7 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 1.1 block, and 0.8 steals a game on 58% shooting from the field. At 7 foot, 27 years old, he's in his prime right now. These are great numbers. All right, these are great numbers by your starting center. They truly are. The 10 rebounds a game and 11 points, you love to see that. Chet Holmgren, though, he can get 10 to 11 rebounds a game. He can. He can also get you 3 blocks a game. So the only thing that I'm necessarily going to be missing here from him is his playmaking ability at 3-point assists per game. However, I also like Jay Will's passing ability and his ability to stretch the floor as well, where he's not necessarily going to be a starter, but coming off the bench, he's going to replace these minutes with a guy that sets some hard screens, can also pass the ball quite well for his size, and then he also adds in 3-point shooting, which Isaiah Hartenstein never had. Brandon Carlson can do the same thing and also rim protect. Thomas Sorber, he's a little bit of an unknown because we haven't seen him play yet in a Thunder jersey. However, he has so much hype surrounding him. He was my number 2 center in the draft. And if they were going to get Derek Queen originally, I was a little bit upset. But Thomas Sorber is still a great pick and can end up being the steal of the draft because maybe he should have been a lottery pick. Looking at him, he probably should have been a lottery pick. Definitely. All right. But the final thing I'll go into is I talked about the payroll all, this video. Let me go and show you what's going on here. As you can see, the red The bright red are all team options. Those are what they are. Team options that the team can accept or decline. And you can notice two of the highest contracts, all right, two of the three top contracts on the team right now before the extensions go into place are Isaiah Hartenstein and Lou Dort, and they have team options going next year. Lou Dort would be the fifth or sixth highest paid player on the team, making $18 million. All right, and Isaiah Hartenstein would be the fourth highest paid player on the team, making $25 million. That's almost $50 million right there between those two players. You also have Kenrich Williams making $7 million a year. You have Nikola Topic, but you're not going to, decline that. You probably accept that one. Then you accept Cason Wallace's, or you decline and sign him to a cheaper deal, probably around $12 to $15 million a year for Cason Wallace. You have guys later on down the road like Nikola Topic, AJ Mitchell, Isaiah Joe, Jay Will, all these guys. This is why you set up these team options. But I will tell you, the one variable going into this is Isaiah Hartenstein's last season with the Oklahoma City Thunder. No doubt about that in my mind whatsoever. I don't see a world that they pick up the team option, try to work it out. It's just not going to happen. It's not possible. Unless you want to say goodbye to around 5 different role players on this team to try to keep them. And that's not going to work out very well for the long run. So I got for this video. Let me know what you guys personally think. Would you rather keep Isaiah Hartenstein, Lou Dort, or do you think I'm an idiot and actually think Isaiah Hartenstein is going to stay on the team? Because I'm telling you, there's no possible way that it happens. That's all I got. See you guys in the next one.